Welcome to the SJ Childs Show, where a little bit of knowledge can turn fear into understanding. Enjoy the show. Hello, SJ Childs family. Thank you so much for joining us today. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to some friends and colleagues that are making such a big difference in our world today. First person I'd like to give a shout out to is Rosetta Walker, Queen of Inspiration. Rosetta has this vivacious, energetic spirit and just brings such joy to people and those that get to be around her. So thank you so much for all that you do, Rosetta, out in the community. I'm always interested to hear from my listeners. So if you know someone that'd be a great guest on the show, if you'd like to tell your story, or if you'd just like to say hello, please reach out. You can reach out to any of my social medias. Check me out at sjchilds.org, or you can email me at sjchildshow@gmail.com. I hope everybody has a great day. And if you haven't yet, go back to previous episodes and catch up and see what you missed. Enjoy the show. Hi, welcome to the SJ Childs Show. Today I'm really excited to welcome, I didn't even make sure that I pronounced everything right, so I'm just phonetically going to say Cam F. Awesome. I hope that was all right. It's great to have you here today. This is going to be a really engaging, exciting conversation. I can already read your energy, and it's going to be, something that I hope my listeners and viewers are going to get a lot of value from, ideas, takeaway, and please feel free after this episode to email or reach out to me with any questions you might have or you want to reach out. So without further ado, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to have this talk with you.
Yeah, me too. And it's really important that we bring some information that might be undiscovered or not as talked about in regular news, media, things like that, and really give it kind of a hot seat to discuss all the important ideas of what we're going to talk about today, which I'm going to kind of turn over to you since I am no expert in this.
I am no expert. I'm just a guy.
We'll just call ourselves specialists. There we go.
Not that special, by the way.
Oh, but you are fantastic. No, thank you for being here today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what brought you here.
So I'll go way back to the very beginning. I was a very insecure child. I thought I got bullied very badly because I didn't know what anxiety was, and I always felt like I was being attacked. And because I was always afraid, when I was about 16, I joined the boxing gym to learn how to protect myself. And of course there was actual bullying in there, but I think it seemed so much worse because of the anxiety. Mm-hmm. I would volunteer in the nurse's office during my lunch hour because I said I didn't like being in the lunchroom with that many people. I didn't even know there was a word for anxiety. Mm-hmm. But I joined the boxing gym because I couldn't make any other teams, any sports. And you don't have to make a team with boxing. That's the benefit.
Yeah. And
most people in the boxing gym aren't there to compete. They just do the fitness, the workout because it's a good workout. Mm-hmm. So I became the number one boxer in the country within 2 years of boxing and never making a sport.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was huge. And after I won, a light bulb went off my head. I was like, oh, I want to do this forever. I don't even like boxing. I'm not into sports, but I realized I could use boxing as an avenue to get me somewhere else. And I wanted to be a performer. I wanted to be a comedian. I actually wanted to be on All That. Remember that show back in the day?
It sounds familiar.
It was like Saturday Night Live for children. It was on Nickelodeon.
Okay.
Yeah. So after I got pretty good at boxing, I became the number one boxer in the country. I was traveling all around the world and the country fighting. Anytime I would have an opportunity, I would always speak at high schools or middle schools to talk to kids about bullying. the reason why I got involved into the sport. And I went around speaking about bullying for years, and I've spoken at over 1,000 schools
Wow.
around the country. And in 2000, so boxing wise, I qualified for the 2008 Olympic trials, and I lost. And but a light bulb went off my head, and I realized if all the boxers who lost in this tournament quit or turned pro, I'm the only one left. Doesn't that automatically make me the best? So I developed this kind of philosophy that if you can fail without being discouraged, success becomes inevitable.
Yeah.
And so throughout my career, I won nationals in 2008, 9, 10, 11. In 2012, I won the Olympic trials to represent the US in the London Olympics.
Wow.
But then I was kicked off the Olympic team because I forgot to send an email.
Oh no. That sounds ridiculous.
Kicked off the Olympic team. It was a USADA were about failure. I left the country and forgot to tell the drug testing agency. They showed up to my home to give me a random drug test. I was in Azerbaijan, and I tested negative that same week to even fight in that tournament in that country. But the rules are the rules, and I was suspended for a year. The minimum sentence, because there was no suspicion that I did anything, so they gave me the minimum sentence. But it was heartbreak, it was depression, it was sadness, it was weight gain, it was all of that.
Defeat feeling. So certainly.
Now, in high school, when I started boxing, my high school was 6 miles away from the boxing gym. And I would have to walk 6 miles to the boxing gym every day. It would take me about 3 hours. And this is back in the day before music was on your phone. And I didn't have batteries for my MP3 player. So during this 3-hour walk, I would just make up stories in my head. And I was knocking everyone out. I was winning all the fights. I was traveling around the world. None of this was true, by the way. I hadn't started. I didn't have my first fight yet.
You were manifesting. You just didn't know it yet.
I didn't know it. But for 3 hours a day, 15 hours a week, I was manifesting this positivity.
Yeah.
When I got suspended, I was so mad at myself and embarrassed that I forgot to send an email that I started to beat myself up. And then I would work out. I was trying to get back into boxing, but I'd work out for a couple of days and I'd fall off, and work out a couple of days and I'd fall off. And then I realized the difference between me when I walked to the gym and me in 2012 when I got suspended was one of us liked me. And I think, how much do we beat ourselves up?
Oh yeah.
And then I like to ask people, how would you feel if your child spoke to you the way you speak to yourself?
Yeah.
Then I had another thought. Now, this is a thought I'm still working on. I don't want you to agree with me, by the way. I want to challenge the way you think.
Okay.
I was trying to get back into believing in myself in 2012. And they'll come back to the students. Now, do you have your phone on you or something? You can Google something real quick. Could you look up the definition of humble?
Okay, I like that.
I decided during my suspension, this is when I decided to make some changes in my life. Now, could you read me the first definition of humble?
Having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own importance.
Now, question, does that sound positive?
Not at all.
Okay, maybe that's a fluke. Read me the second definition.
Of low social, administrative, or political rank.
Okay, now that doesn't sound good either, does it?
No.
Now, do you have children?
Yes.
What ages?
11 and 13, 23.
11 and 13. So let's go to the middle one, 13-year-old, right?
Yeah.
Because we always forget about us middle children. Go with our middle. So girl or boy?
Boy.
Boy. What's his name?
DJ.
DJ. Now, you look DJ in the eyes, right? And you say, DJ, you can be anything you want to be in life. All you need to do is apply yourself. And if you apply yourself, there's nothing that you can't accomplish. And you believe that to be true, correct?
Partially. we'll use our oldest child as an example.
Yeah,
DJ
yeah.
has autism, so
Oh,
his like
oh,
skill
okay.
sets are going to be different. So I got to
Okay.
be honest
Let's
about
go with the
this.
older one.
Okay,
Let's
let's
go with
do.
the older one.
Sounds good.
And you say you can be anything you want to be, right?
Yeah.
What would it look like? What's his name or her name?
Anna.
Anna. What would it look like if Anna believed you?
Oh man, probably not the struggles that they went through.
Okay.
And yeah, you're right. It's more of a belief we have not in
So,
ourselves.
but if she actually believed that,
Mm-hmm.
what would it look like? She would just accomplish anything she wanted to, right?
Hmm. I
And
suppose
if
so.
if you can believe that for her,
Mm.
why wouldn't you believe that for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Because children don't hear your words, they see your actions.
Absolutely.
So bringing it back to being humble.
Mm.
During my suspension, I was so hard on myself, I was beating myself, and I realized that I was humbled by the situation.
Mm.
And I realized that being humble is not really a positive virtue.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Of course, like I do want to preface it like being humble in the eye of the Lord.
Yeah,
But
there's kind of different views. Yeah.
last time I checked, though, you weren't the Lord. So I decided to adopt this belief in myself because Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Mm.
And I changed my last name to Awesome because of that legally,
Oh, I love that.
as a reminder that whether I make it to the Olympics, no matter what I do in life, win or lose, I'm still awesome. I can still believe in myself, and no one's going to believe in me until I start believing in myself.
Mm.
And I tell students that you don't have to change your last name to Awesome. Believe in yourself, but it's important to do.
Yeah. No, I love that. When we first just got on to the camera and you said, "Oh, I like your sign," and I'm assuming you were talking the SJ Childs one. I don't know if you meant the Just Be Awesome one because that just came up, but it was when I got the idea that I wanted to start something and have a louder voice and be an advocate in my community. My husband was like, I'm getting on, I'm buying you the sign, we're putting it up. And I started my first episode with the sign behind me. And it gave me that confidence and that idea that I was already in and I was set and I'd been doing it. I remember practicing and practicing, like being in the shower. I'm SJ Childs, I'm SJ, and all of those things. But you really like this mindset that you get yourself to. And let me preface that prior to getting on doing the podcast, I had been through about a year of really hard times and depression after being told that my son couldn't attend school because of his learning ability and his behavior disability. And so it made it very daunting. And I felt kind of the same. Obviously, I wasn't in the Olympics, but I felt defeated as a parent. And like, how can I can't even take my son to a public school. They won't even, like it was really tough. And it was like this year of just like you said, like lost myself in watching reality TV and my guilty pleasure. But I just kind of it wasn't until I decided this isn't going to be the space that's going to help him in the future with any kind of growth or support. Like um, us not doing anything together isn't the brightest future. And so it was a turning point for sure. And being on camera for the first time in so long, after I kind of joke being in a ponytail and sweatshirts for so long, that I was just like, oh my gosh, like I can curl my hair again, I could put on a dress, like I it's a new Sarah, it's a whole new Sarah. And it was such a beautiful discovery. And then obviously it just like takes off from there because you realize that you've won over those negative thoughts and that those behaviors. And I love what you said about the humbleness, because how much are we taught in our childhoods, especially from our generation? You have to be humble. You have to be this. You have to be quiet unless spoken to. You have to this. It's like we're just, it was so demeaning and so unempowering to be spoken to and to be seen that way. We have to provide a whole new outlook for the future.
Yeah, I agree. And I when I mention this humble thing to people, because no one actually knows the definition of humble.
Yeah.
And the Latin root word is lowly.
Mm.
And when people hear that I found out I changed my last name to Awesome, they think I must think I'm up here and they're down here. And I'm like,
Mm.
and they want me to come down to where they are. But the thing is, there's enough awesome for everyone. You can come up here too.
Yeah.
Me coming down would be humbling myself, getting
Mm.
lower. And I want to lift everyone up,
Yeah.
and have more of high vibrations. You did bring up a point of something, of those fighting those negative thoughts.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, I had a thought. We will read a book because we value someone's opinion and want to know their insight. And we get to the end of the chapter and it gives us an action statement and tells us what to do before we turn the page. And we just turn the page and we don't do it. We're like, we'll get back to it. Well, how many books have we read we never got back to?
Yeah.
So I said, that's a joke. I'm going to the next book I read, I'm doing everything it says. It was pandemic. I had time. And it was Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
And it's a book basically about, to break it down, it's the secret. You think about money enough, it comes.
Love it. Mm-hmm.
Right? It worked. And I realized, if I can do this with money, can I do it with happiness?
Mm.
I realize our phones, I love it. I can't read a map. I need technology. I value my phone, but there's so much negative that comes with it.
Mm.
If it bleeds, it leads. Social media works. The news is, if it bleeds, it leads. Social media works. The worst gets shown first.
Mm.
Many of us, our alarm clocks is our phone. So our alarm clock goes off. What do? We hit snooze. We do math in 9-minute increments, and then we check our notifications. And we just read negative things, and you start your day with negative things. Now, there's a lady, I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
She puts a positive affirmation on underwear, because your brain is more receptive to information, not negative or positive. Your brain's more receptive to information first thing in the morning. Mm. So she puts positive affirmation on underwear so you can read them to yourself and start your day with something positive.
I love that.
I love it. And I also thought about it like, okay, if your brain's more receptive to information in the morning and the first thing we do is we check our phone, how good is that for our mental health?
Yeah.
So I decided, I did a challenge. I was going to do a 30-day challenge. Every morning I woke up, I would write a list of 10 things I'm grateful for before I look at my phone. I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful for my car. I'm grateful for my washer. I'm grateful for my dryer. Those are two different things. You can be grateful for everything.
Yes.
The thing is,
love it.
I don't repeat anything on this list. Mm. That's the challenge. So day 2, I have to come up with 10 new things. Mm. Now, very easy for the first 3 weeks, but then it would take me, Sarah, like 10, 15 minutes to come up with 10 things. And if I'm being honest, I really want to look at my phone.
You're like, come on, brain.
I found a cheat code. I would look for things to be grateful for throughout my day, stored in my memory, call it delayed gratification, and write my list faster in the morning so I can look at my phone. Now, I went down a TikTok rabbit hole, and I found out about your RAS, your reticular activating system.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay. To explain to your listeners, I'm not a doctor, but if I were, I have the best doctor name ever, Dr. Awesome.
Yes.
But so your brain takes in 40 billion bits of information a moment, not a second moment. A lot of information for your brain to take in. To process that information, it sends it through a filter, which is your RAS. So if you ever heard what you seek is what you will find, It's because your brain is only giving you the information it believes is relevant.
Mm.
So if you decide to go shopping for a yellow car, you don't buy one, but after that, you just start seeing yellow cars everywhere. Now, if something like that ever happened to you, I want you to know that someone didn't paint all the cars yellow that morning. Those cars were always there. And the second your brain knew you were looking for them, it was like, oh, we're going to spot out all the yellow cars.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think it's so funny that you see your car everywhere on the road?
It's the one that's most in your mind, I suppose.
Yeah. Of course, you see your own car in different colors everywhere because it's what your brain's always looking for.
Yeah.
Now, with that in mind, if you're thinking about a yellow car for one day, you just start seeing yellow cars everywhere. When I woke up every morning looking for things to be grateful for throughout my day and storing in my memory, what did you think I started to find more of?
Lots of things to be grateful for.
And the crazy thing about that is none of the things on that list were anything that was new. They were always there.
Yeah.
Because the more you dig for it, the more you start to find. And sometimes I would be flushed with joy throughout my day, and I didn't understand why. And I realized that is the feeling of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take that long to rewire your brain. I was going to do this for 30 days. And then after 30 days, I figured, well, there's probably still more things. Now, I'm probably on journal number 8.
Wow.
I haven't missed a day since July 26th of 2021.
Oh my gosh.
It has changed my life completely. And I would love for your listeners, because kids don't hear your words, they hear your actions.
Mm-hmm.
Do this with your children in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't want to do it before you look at your phone, in the morning, before everyone goes to school, get your list. You don't even have to start with 10. Everyone has a list of 3 things you're grateful for. If they're younger, start smaller. But if they're not, challenge yourself for 10. Because if I asked you to find a list of 10 things not going right in your life, 10 things you'd like to change, you'd find that real easy, wouldn't you?
Those are easier to point out.
Because it's what you're always looking for. We have to fight those negative thoughts.
Yeah, definitely.
And it takes action. And if you do this with your children in the morning, and if you start with them so young, they won't even realize this is odd.
Mm-hmm.
They'll begin to wonder, because they'll get to, if you start off with this at 4 or 5 years old when they're barely writing, when they're 10 or 11, when they get to a friend's house for their first sleepover, they're going to wonder why their friends aren't doing this too, because it's going to be so normalized to them.
Absolutely.
Another thing that I do, and which was so amazing to me and powerful during the pandemic, was I don't add anyone's name to this list unless I reach out to them that day out of context and tell them that I love them.
Oh.
I'm not that guy, though. I'm not the guy who texts friends that I love them. I don't throw that word out there like that, but I challenged myself to do it. And it was so uncomfortable. I started with family. I started with people I was really close.
Yeah.
And I would send I sent a picture of my friend Marlene. She's in San Diego. I was like, hey, Marlene, love you. Can't wait to have lunch with you again. And I sent her a picture of us having lunch years ago. And I sent that. Now, it was scary for me to send, but when I sent it, it made me happy because I know she's not going to judge me for that. She's going to be happy I sent that.
Yeah.
That brought me joy. She receives that message. It brings her joy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Marlene's not the type to text you back right away. When she gets around to it, she's going to send me something back, and that's going to bring me joy.
Yeah.
Which then in turn bring her joy. Now, all this interaction from me writing her name on a piece of paper in the morning.
Yeah.
Think about life. You go through your yearbook, you're going to find people said, best friends forever. Sarah, I'll never forget you. We're going to be friends forever. And you haven't spoken to that person in decades.
Yeah, certainly.
Life happens. You get job, you move, you get married, your kids have new friends, things happen. There are people in your life that you don't necessarily dislike, but you're not connected with them anymore. Adding names to this list forces you to be intentional and to reignite those connections with people you just kind of lost.
Yeah.
Now, I've been doing this since July 26th of 2021. I've been texting people randomly that I love them. I've done it multiple times. Sarah, people now text me randomly that they love me.
I love that.
They don't even know why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Because gratitude's contagious.
No, I completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. I think I did something similar, but it's online. But I every morning, I think for a couple of years myself too, and I've really let it go the last little while. I need to check in with that. But I do call today's mission. And I would put a quote that would be meaningful, and I would just do it every single morning. And I didn't even realize how much it was being meaningful for me. I was just trying to be a good example, and so then like you said, I just start seeing other people doing it, start seeing people share it, and then it just like is growing and growing. And another thing that made me think of this story that I think you'll love is that when my kids were little, I printed out a list of Bradford family rules. Rule number one, you have to be honest. Rule number two, you have to be fair. Rule number three, you have to be strong. And rule number four, you have to be wise. And we had them repeat those rules. What's a family rules? What's a family rules? What's a family rules? I mean, till they, just from toddler up. And now today, I mean, 11 and 13, the it's not hard to know that they are honest, that they are trying to be fair, and they sometimes need reminders, but that's okay. They still have those words that they repeated constantly, that they were honest, that they were fair, that they were strong, that they were wise all the time. And it really created these amazing little beings who like have my daughter who's 11 has this like internal strength and like um I would say, oh God, she's super humanity, right? She's so strong, and I see like the self love that she has, the self confidence she has. Yeah, I mean, she still is going through being 11, being in that age group and with kids and stuff that maybe not don't understand, but I see the strength it's given her. Her brother, on the other hand, hasn't had all the social interactions in public and stuff, so we can't really see that different. But it for him, it looks more like being fair is really important for him because sometimes he struggles with his own proprioception and his own area of things, and then that leads to him not understanding other people's spaces and things like that. And so the you have to be fair, that's our family rule, really helps him regulate those moments to realize that, okay, fair is something I do when I share things, when I'm understanding of others. And it just really helped having those key words to remind them along the way.
Love that. I
Yeah.
love that you repetition,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't plant, because all children are their gardens, and
Mm-hmm.
if you don't purposely plant seeds,
Yeah.
then weeds will grow, and
Yeah.
then whatever ad shows up on the iPad is what is repetition in
Yes.
their head.
Isn't that the truth? Right. And, I want to talk about that a little bit because, kind of at the beginning, we were going to talk about media footprint and like how that, related to kids and students and peers. And I know that you had gone and spoke about that. Tell us a little bit about that and how kids can be, and like you said, parents can be more cognizant of what they are providing as an example and what our kids are doing and taking away from that.
Yeah. Well, I will first by mentioning that I don't know how to read a map. I need my phone for a GPS. Technology is amazing. I couldn't be here without it. We're on a Zoom. I'm not going to be a
Yeah.
hypocrite. I want students to know. I tell them how amazing technology is. Like I let them know. I'm a speaker, so I do school assemblies all around the country. And I'll say, why I'm here? Because I have a website. Your principal saw it. That's technology. How'd I get here? A flight. I did it through an app. What is an app? Technology. I booked my hotel through an app. Technology. My rental car through an app. My phone, GPS. I think technology is amazing. The question is, how are we utilizing the technology that we have?
Mm-hmm.
because you can use it in all types of ways. And I like to ask students, and they're very honest. They're like, TikTok, Instagram. I'm like, oh, no. I don't think TikTok's a waste of time. I just shared that I learned about the reticular activating system on TikTok. It was a TikTok rabbit hole. These are tools. How are we using these tools?
Yes.
Now, a child will only use the tools in which the way the parent does. If you're saying, hey, my child isn't reading enough, how often are you reading?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm adult. I have a job. Well, they don't really understand that. They're doing what you do. They see school as their job. So we have to show them how to behave. So using social media as a tool, career choices. If your child is going to be on social media, find out what they want to do for a living and have them follow those people. So I shared to students, when I wanted to get into speaking, I started following speakers.
Yeah.
I learned some speakers speak at school, some speakers speak at corporations, some speakers travel. I'm like, oh, okay, you learn more about the industry. You can Google things. Here's a stunning fact, a statistic that I learned, and I learned 2 years ago. So graduating class of 2033, those are kids who started school 2 years ago. 80% of the jobs that are going to be available when they graduate don't yet exist today. What are we teaching them? What do you want your child to learn? Because the idea of school is to prepare you for life. The big joke a few years ago when automated trucks started coming out and people were saying, well, truckers need to learn how to code. Ha, ha, ha. ChatGPT, AI can code better than humans can. Don't bother teaching your child how to code. It's pointless. I don't really say pointless. You learn the procedures and everything, but job-wise, there's not going to be an industry for that if we're being serious. So we do have to embrace technology. We can't shun it. If you keep a phone or an iPad away from your child until they're 12, they're going to be light years behind their peers.
Yeah.
So how can we utilize technology in a positive way? Well, I tell students, for one, if social media is a thing, sure. About 20,000 people follow me on Instagram. I follow maybe 100 people. Sarah, there's more than 100 people I love. Yeah. But I just can't follow everyone, because if you post your personal day, in which it's your prerogative, and let's say I follow 2,000 people and everyone has one bad day a week. I see 2,000 bad days a week. Yeah. That's a lot of negativity.
Too much.
I unfollow I went through and I unfollowed everyone. I follow good news. I follow puppies wearing people clothes.
Yeah, I love it.
I open up Instagram. It's a golden doodle with a briefcase in its mouth.
Yes, my
adorable.
Favorite. Yeah.
No, that was my choice. That's what I got to see on social media, but we choose what we follow. So when someone tells me that social media is negative, I say, no, don't blame social media. We already said how amazing that is. You're negative because you're searching negative things. Your algorithm is just
following you.
What if you want to learn more about yourself? Go to Instagram, pull up the Discover page, look at those videos. That's who Instagram thinks you are. And no one knows you better than your social media.
I'm going to do that. Check that out.
So here's something that I like to do, because of course your algorithm is not going to be perfect. I call it a puppy reset. I go through and I go through search and I search puppies, and I'll spend 30 minutes liking pictures and videos of puppies. And then my algorithm shows me my ads. It's nothing but puppies.
Yep.
I love puppies.
Me too, Cam. Me too.
But think about another way. What if I followed the news?
Oh, no, we've already grown up to have to do that. I mean, I don't know if about you, but was your news playing in your house all the time, every day? Every day. And here's something I want to point out, because people say you need to be informed. And I say, sure, you need to be informed, but you don't need to be entertained. News, television news is entertainment. If you, and this is the question, here's how you find out if you should watch news or not. If in the last 10 days, you haven't taken direct action based off a news story you saw on TV, then that's no longer news, that's entertainment.
if you're going to choose entertainment, you should choose something a little more positive.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything that's going on in the world. When something comes up, anything happens, I find out. I heard about COVID. Did you know that? You find out about things. We're so attached to our phone that we want to believe that we need constant information and updates.
Mm-hmm.
Your grandparents survived just all right because it just gives you open space for anxiety and FOMO.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
Uh, Sundays, I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but
You're
Sundays,
great.
iPhones, you get notifications of your phone usage, and it shows how much time you use your phone and which apps you use it with. Lead by example if you're a parent that wants to show your child how you're supposed to be using your time. And show your child your usage. And then say, hey, can I see yours? Don't just demand to see theirs, because I believe there's a philosophy you should treat children like adults and expect them to act that way.
1,000 times agree. Yeah.
But you have to have that personal accountability to make sure that you haven't been on TikTok for 7 hours in a week.
Certainly. Yeah.
So that's just another tool so you can see how much of your phone you're using and what you're using it for.
It's good to have that accountability check-in. I like that you said that and it's good that your child sees that you're doing that, because it shows your own personal discipline and things that, even if you say, wow, like I have been on a little bit, maybe I'll make a goal next week to go outside 30 minutes longer in the evening instead of being on my phone each day, and showing them with action and, taking them with you. Have a conversation.
Yeah. Another thing you do just that conversation piece, my girlfriend and I, we play Yahtzee.
Oh, I love Yahtzee.
We've played over 3,000 games.
Yeah.
And you have to do math during this cycle. And I think what a great exercise for children if you play a game of Yahtzee and then they're in charge of the math. So after each game, they have to add it up. Eventually, they're going to get faster and faster with it. And they're going to want to play faster. So they're going to do their math faster. There's
lots of great card games for numbers and things. We played Skip Bo. That's where you put the numbers in order. And so that was really good for our daughter with dyslexia, because it really helped her keep her thoughts organized when the numbers were 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, in that. And it helped her practice. We would every night and it was so much fun. We'd turn on music and we'd laugh and we'd let her play her playlist, because, we hated it, but we let her play. We let her play it anyways, because she loves it. And to see the joy in giving an individual what they like, something they desire really within them. Somebody said to me in an interview just last week, what's something that gives you chills when you're doing it? Do that more, and I love that. I think I love music. There's so many things I could associate to do. I love petting my dog, things putting in those senses. And if we give our kids those tools, it's going to be easier for them when they come to challenging and struggling situations. Not only are they going to feel a sense of connection with us because we've taken the time to create these relationships and these examples for them, and we've shown them that they're important by including them in these conversations. But then they'll also feel like they have someone's trust in these situations where they can be forthcoming with things. We've set up with our child a full open door, conversations, and there's nothing that she couldn't bring to us that we wouldn't say, we'll get through this. It's not a problem. And we don't ever judge or assert shame or guilt or any of those kinds of things. And even if she comes with embarrassment or things, you don't lean into that. You lean into, hey, this is a human behavior. And sometimes, telling kids, oh, I understand, I get that. That's not always the best thing to say to them. like validate their feelings, like, oh, that sucks when somebody talks to you that way. What did you do afterwards then? How did you make yourself feel better? Like redirect the questions on them to challenge their brains to come up with different ideas and answers to things.
Yeah. Uh, you do this podcast, which means you probably have so much insight on this. So, and I don't know how you were raised or anything like that, but it seems so you're learning things, which means you have tools that your parents didn't have.
Mm.
And do you find it difficult to implement those tools to your children because you didn't have them?
I guess in some ways it's easier to talk about than implement them. That is definitely honest and true. I can give great advice. I may not always take it. I have done a lot of learning in this process, and you're right about that. I am an only child of divorced parents who I lived with the parent who was in the military and traveled, and oftentimes I lived with house sitters. It was a very isolating existence, and it came with its own bouts of anxiety. So uh, can relate to those. And along with that, though, also came now this new idea that I don't have to do things the way they were done. Number one, I can't. I'm not in the military. I can't reinvent and repeat any of that. What I'm going to do now that I have a 23-year-old stepchild, that I've already seen the effects of the parenting that was passed on to me, and I realized that those types of things didn't really further our relationship and make it any easier when she came into adulthood. And now, and with that, I mean, you have a child, 10 years difference. You can be like, okay, we got to do things differently this time around so that, we get a phone call in the next 20 years after this. So, and that's not on, I can't take like responsibility for that. My husband has a wonderful analogy for parents and kids. And that is that as parents, we're the bow. We are like this bow and arrow set, and we could be these beautifully crafted bows. They've spent hours making us and crafting us. We spent hours crafting this arrow. It's just beautiful. All these things line up. But the second that we release that arrow into the world, anything can change its trajectory. Wind, rocks, people, animals, leaves, whatever, we can't control that. That's out of our control at that point. The only thing we can do is practice enough that we shoot the arrow in the right direction so that it has the ability to, go in that place. But it's not our fault. It's not our like design when it doesn't go where we had intended or expected. We have to let that go and realize this is their journey now. They're adults at 20 something already, 18, whatever you want to call it. They're adults. They're having their own lives. And all we can do now is hope that maybe with this next round of kids that we make our home a place that they want to leave to get independence, but they want to come back. It's tricky.
Yeah. I think I don't think that's reasonable. I think just the whole idea of adolescence, that whole part of like you want to leave and never come back, and I did that too. And I think after you leave and you're like, oh, I think once it hits you and once it hits your child that like, I thought my parents were special, because you think you're special because you're you. And then, of course, your parents have to be special because they made you. And then you realize, like, no, they were just two people trying to figure things out.
Yeah, exactly.
And once you give them more grace and you understand, like, my dad was 33 when he had me. I'm 34 now. And I'm like, oh, no, I would have made some mistakes. I haven't figured life out by 34 yet. So I'm able to give more grace, and now I can go back home with a different mind and attitude. But
yeah,
I think that's just a phase that humans go through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Humans just happen to be children of parents. So parents got to deal with it.
Isn't that the truth, isn't it? Oh my gosh. This has been such a fantastic conversation with you, Cam. And I hope I can invite you to come back. Um,
Please.
yeah, I mean, it's like time. I can't believe how much time has gone by and it just
Oh.
feels like nothing. So it was a fantastic conversation. I think that you have a lot um to share and a lot of wisdom to that you've gained in your journey. And so I just wish you the best of luck in all of that. And like I said, hope we can catch back up and see how things have gone.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's been a lot of fun. Before we go, though, let's get those socials, websites, anything you
Oh,
want people to find
y-
you.
yeah. So I'm a youth speaker and I do corporate events as well. I speak on at schools above par positivity. I speak on the gratitude acceptance. As captain of the USA national boxing team, I traveled to over 30 countries representing the US, where I had to learn the
Wow.
do's and don'ts about each country and
Ooh.
then relay the message to our teammates so we don't look like idiots in other countries. Now I know a lot about cultural. So I speak about cultural communication and acceptance.
Yeah.
So that's positivity, acceptance. The last one is resilience. So I speak
Yeah.
about my story about resilience. I talk about never giving up. I also speak about the long-term effects of a digital footprint. I
Mm.
do basically stand-up comedy. It's a one-man show at schools because if students are laughing, they're listening. If they're listening, they're learning. If they're learning, I did my job.
Love it.
You can find me at camfawesome or camfawesome.com.
Fantastic. And I'll have those links in the show notes, of course. It has just been such a pleasure talking to you. And I wish you the best of luck and stay awesome. I know you will because it's your
Yes.
name.
You stay awesome too.
I
Thank you for
will.
having me.